Convo.
Welcome back to Candid Conversations with Carmen. I'm your host, Carmen, and this is my side host,
Ashley.
and our wonderful producer,
T Nugget.
And to be really honest, we had an honest conversation before this, so I kind of feel a little discombobulated.
Yeah.
I know we're supposed to have 3 topics today.
Going back to the beginning.
Going back to the basics, going back to the beginning. So my side host is going to have to help me because I'm really feeling like...
But no, I think we can even just jump back into the conversation. But like what we were talking about was really how we sometimes hold in the things that we want to say because we don't want to be vulnerable. And we don't want to be able to allow people to see the deep, dark places of us because we don't know how to get it back. As Carmen was saying, you don't know how to claw your way back into it. And I think that what in that, it was like, how do you be vulnerable? And how do you get past the fear of being vulnerable to get to the real relationship?
Yeah. And I want to go on that too, but also what you were talking about with shame kind of falling into that. I don't know how you wanted to tie that in.
Well, I feel like that's just the catalyst, like the beginning part of it.
Oh, you not want to be vulnerable is shame.
It's shame because...
But what if it's not? But what if you don't have anything that's shameful? It's just something...
You may not think that is. Like, you might not consider something shameful, but that can still be shameful
it's
to
not
you.
societally decided as shame, but it feels like shame to you.
Yes.
You hide it and conceal it. So do you feel like the degree of not having openness is a result of feeling that having openness will leave you with shame, or it's something that you are ashamed of being open about?
It's at the beginning, you feel shame that the people will think of you differently about certain things. But then there's also your internal shame that you may feel about certain situations, even after those things have come out. Because I'm not going to say names, but a friend of mine, she said she's going through her healing journey right now.
Yes.
And she has like pretty much a therapist.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she's like, shame is a big thing that plays in this walk that she's realizing. And it's like, there's nothing that she really has to be shameful about because there was nothing that she really did. But she's like, I still feel intense levels of shame over these different things. And so this life coach that she's working with is like helping her work these different areas out and being like, you don't have to like go through this. Like you're feeling shame, that's not of God. Like you really need to, we're going to really get down to the root of those things.
Yeah.
So, yes, it can be at the beginning.
I get what you're saying. So the shame essentially, if we really, really did an internal look at the reason why you're not willing to be vulnerable, because it's not even, it's like you don't want to vocalize whatever it is. It doesn't even matter because it makes you have a degree of heavy, like it's like a lie.
Yes.
Like it's like a lie. Like it makes you feel like if you tell this thing or whatever it is, you will be heavier afterwards.
Yes, instead of lighter. Yes.
Because you're like, well, they'll think of me differently. They'll know this part of me. I'll have this level of vulnerability. And they'll always see me as the crier, or they'll always see me as the person who's always breaking down or always emotional. And I don't understand why. Like, I don't understand why. But that is true. Like, for her to say that is shame, I think that's true. Because it's like, shame in what? I don't know. But if it is, because shame will have you in a lie.
Yeah.
Whatever that shame is, I wasn't enough. I didn't do enough. I feel ashamed that I was ashamed. I can't even share that. Like, it's a cycle, a vicious cycle that keeps you trapped.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it makes it harder for you to make real connections. It makes it harder for you to grow the connections that you already have, to have vulnerability and open up and say, have the hard conversation.
But I was just thinking about that when you just said that. I think it can be conditioned. So the way that you interact with your family and the way that you interact with those around you. If you were taught that feeling certain emotions, or not even feeling certain emotions, that if you do something or you go outside of certain standards or regulations or power dynamics or hierarchies or anything like that, then you are the worst. You are bad. You are not good. You are all these different things. And even if it's something good, and if it's something not wrong, but you have stepped out of those things, and things may happen that seem like it's really terrible and bad, and so you're held in this spiral of like, I did wrong, even when you have done the right thing. You're like, I did wrong because I went, like, I remember I was having a conversation with somebody that was in leadership, and it was so hard for me to say what I had to say to them. Like, when I got finished saying, I felt bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't that what I said was wrong, but I felt bad because they were in charge.
Yeah.
I was not. And I was always taught that you respect the people that are in charge. You treat them with honor. You go. And so if you go against that, then you feel it's like, I think about it and I ruminate. How can I say it differently? And how can that change? And where is that going? And I think that the vulnerability, because sometimes the thing is, when you're saying those hard things, when you're going into it and you're pushing into it, that's scary in itself.
Yeah.
And so you're stepping out and you're saying these things, and it's really your heart's feelings to say it, and especially if you're not saying it out of anger or any place, but you're just saying this is how it is. It can be really uncomfortable, and it can be really nerve-wracking, and it can be really just a trying time. And then once you finish saying what you're saying and the person has responded or whatever it may be, then you have to go back and you have to think about it, because now you sit with yourself.
And I think that's what it is too. I think a lot of times we're avoiding having the hard conversations because we know we're going to be left with the internalization afterwards. You're trying to avoid what make, like we're reading the Garden Within, and one of the things that the lady who wrote the book says is that a lot of anxiety is not caused by what you're going to have to do. It's caused by you trying to avoid having to feel the feelings that are going to come with what you're going to do. And so I think that's what it is. Like, we don't want to have the tough conversations because we know we're going to have to live the moment with them. So we feel uneasy about having the conversations. It's like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to feel sick while I'm having the conversation. And then it's like, I'm gonna have had the conversation and I'm gonna think about, maybe I should have said this differently, or maybe I shouldn't have made it that way. Oh my gosh, I think they were hurt. Oh my goodness, I don't want to hurt anybody's heart, and I want to break anybody's heart. I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. And I think that, again, you're trained in a way, like you said, to make everybody comfortable.
Yes.
You're trained to make everybody comfortable. Huh?
I said, I'm guilty of it.
Yeah, you're conditioned to make everybody comfortable. I mean, you make people uncomfortable in a certain way when it's like you annoying your family or you're being selfish. But in the grand scheme of things, you're trained
from a young child.
From a young child, if not you, us.
Yeah.
You're trained. We were trained, whether that was verbally said or just observed, to make other people comfortable in a way that you don't get to the root of anything. You're not finding out why you're angry. You're not finding out why you're a bitter hag. You just are. And you're like, clean this house, Lord, from the inside out. And it's like, I'm unchanged. I'm a lesser version of who I should be because I can't have real hard-hitting conversations because I'm afraid, I'm afraid to make somebody else uncomfortable, and I'm afraid to be uncomfortable. And I think, and it makes me uncomfortable. So it's just a vicious cycle of discomfort that you're currently always sitting in, but then you're trying to not be that way by not doing the thing that will give you the deliverance from it.
And then what ends up happening is you go into what we had been talking about before, into distractions. You take your mind off of what it is that you have to face, and the things that you're supposed to be saying and the things that you're supposed to be living out.
Yes.
And you're like, I need to not feel these emotions. I need to not feel this uncomfortableness. And so
Yes.
because I don't want to feel this uncomfortableness, I'm going to do all the things that take my mind off of what I'm supposed to be doing in this
Right.
moment, which is to sit in this uncomfortableness and action it, and to have the conversation, to be to do the work, to take that memory or take those imaginations and take them captive and put them into subjection to the word of the Lord.
Yeah.
And we don't do that. And we make it so that those things take root and they take precedence over everything.
Yeah.
And so then you're sitting there like, I
In
can't.
a house full of cobwebs, not knowing where the spider is.
Exactly.
Well,
I feel like signing up for therapy.
no, but you just saying that, I don't know if that's always the same for everybody, because even when it comes to play with me and some of my friends, we have really talked, and it's been like, we're willing to make other people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's making us uncomfortable, but we're willing to go through it just so they don't feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yes.
And I don't even know why. I'm like, why do we do this to ourselves? Like,
Yeah.
But like I said, I think it's conditioning. I think it really is, because I've been thinking about this and sometimes it's also like when you start really listening to the Holy Spirit, sometimes he tells you to just be quiet and sit still and allow
But that's
yourself.
different.
That is different. But you still be uncomfortable. Like, no,
You're
you're
uncomfortable, but you're uncomfortable with support.
Yes.
Like, there's a difference. Like,
Yeah.
if the Lord says, be quiet, you like, oh, Lord, I want to say something. Shut your mouth. You know he's there with you. Like, he's in it with you. So, yeah, it's uncomfortable, but you're not alone.
But I agree. I think it's a conditioning thing. I think it can also be like your innate personality. I think for me, I've been more vocal in my life, and I've been more of the push person. I have not really backed down. Like, I'm learning to, fight my battle, like which battles to fight and when to speak and not to speak. And that's been a long journey. But I think for you, just specifically, you've always been accommodating. But I think you've always been giving. I think in your personality and your DNA, you are a giving person. And so because of that, you also, I think you read the room. And so you take the temperature of the room and you say, this is what needs to be for me. Even if I'm slightly uncomfortable, I can hold my uncomfortableness in and not make it seem like I'm uncomfortable.
Right.
And make it an even keel so that everything goes smoothly until I can leave and get to back where I feel the most safe.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a safety mechanism. So I want to keep the surrounding areas around me safe until I'm able to take myself out of it and put myself in an actual safe space.
what going?
That's true. I'm like, say less. Like, no, I really am. Because, like, you're saying that to him, but I'm like, I'm kind of hearing me in there, too. And we talked about that on previous episodes of the podcast. And I think, it's just a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
It's a lot to unpack. Because I was listening to this book earlier today, which I still need to finish. But it was good so far. And the man was talking about how he was fearful in his youth, and like how it shaped a lot of the decisions that he was making. Like, he was making bad choices, and he was doing things because he was trying to create a false sense of security and a false sense of safety.
Yeah.
And I think that when you're trying to be comfortable,
Yeah.
you're doing that.
Yes.
You're trying to create a sense of security that is made by you because it's controlled by you. And so if you're in control of it, you think, well, I can manipulate how this is going to go.
Yes.
And I can, again, like you said, until I get to a place where I'm my most comfortable, then I can be safe.
Yes.
Once I'm able to get to the place that I'm like, okay, well, this is where I want to be at. This is where I can let my hair down, whatever that looks like. Troy, I mean, you can speak to that too. Like, she was directing it at you, and I kind of jumped on the back of it if you wanted to kind of chime in after what she was saying about trying to, you make accommodations or concessions for other people so that you can just keep the peace until you're able to get to the place where you're most comfortable.
I know I have done that. Like, there's no doubt about that I've done that for pretty much my whole life. And
You know why?
Before I was resolved with it. And do I know why I do that? Yes, because this is the same thing. You don't want to feel uncomfortable or to make other people feel uncomfortable. So you say, I'm willing to accommodate in all of these different areas. But I feel like during this year, like in just the last few months, like, I would get angry about certain things, and I really don't stay mad about certain things for a long time. I just can't harbor grudges, and I'm thankful for that. The Lord had worked through me, because at one time I was like, Lord, I want to hold a grudge. And I'm like, why am I praying to hold a grudge against somebody? And then I had to get myself back right. But just during this year, I feel like people have been doing things, and it's just been like, I can go the let me just be gracious route, but it's like reaching a fever pitch to where it's like, it's not just me being uncomfortable, but now it's getting borderline disrespectful at this point. And now I'm just like, now I'm going to have to not cut people off, but the Lord is maybe making me have to move a little bit differently. And like, not to be, like, everybody wants to cut some people off. Like, that's their first thing to do. I'm going to cut these people out of my life and all these different things. And I saw this post, and it was like, everybody's so quick to cut all of these different people off and go on their social media pages and cut people off. But they don't cut the devil off when he whisper in their ear. So really rethink about that. So no, I'm not just trying to cut people off, but I'm also like, I try to be extra respectful of other people. And
you should receive that in return.
I believe I should receive that, but because my actions in previous has been, okay, they can treat me any type of a way, then they think that that's okay. And now it's like, okay, Lord, I'm seeing this. Now, how do I move forward?
You shift your boundaries and you just let them know.
But shifting boundaries has been a large thing. I was talking to one of my friends, and I was like, hey, boundaries is becoming a big thing for me. Like, I'm seeing the need for them. But I'm like, it's hard to set boundaries when you set a precedent.
Yes, but you just make a hard stop. Like, it becomes, and it can be, and this is where you see if people really want to be your friends because they want to be your friends, or they were holding on to you because you allowed them to walk all over you. And when you start making those, and it can be just subtle things, it's not subtle things, small things.
But I don't even think it's even for like friends. It's just people that I have like a camaraderie with. That it's like,
you're not even cool.
And then you'd be like, hey, I don't like that. That's not cool.
And what she was telling me was like, it may sound harsh to them in the moment, but you're not really doing it to be mean, but it's just to be like, hey, this is where it is. And I feel like that's been the hardest thing for me personally to do.
Is to change who you have been fundamentally your entire life and become somebody new.
It's a real shift.
Well, no, it's not. It's not really even that I'm swapping. I'm
saying, but you're having to make a shift that's contrary to how you innately have been historically. Because you were the person who's like, let's square up. And now you're like, meek. I'm going to be meek. You prayed it. You put it on that list.
I know.
And now you're like, I'm going to be meek. And so now you're having to like actually put the work in to make that change, to find a good balance. And you are having to make the change, Troy, to be able to have boldness.
Balance, but boldness as well, to be able to have those conversations that are uncomfortable and could potentially make somebody not like you. But the thing is, I'm like this. I'm at a place now. I was talking to Mommy the other day, and I was just like, I'm at a place where I have like 3 friends.
They're really good friends.
Yes, are my solid friends. And maybe 4, but in that, if I need to have a hard conversation, I usually can. But if you start thinking about the people that you play around, like you like try to cater to their feelings, or like I just don't want, then that may be a time for you to reassess a little bit of where you are with them. And I was just like, I have to really think about where I am in my relationships and to find out, because I am the one that has been accommodating.
Yeah.
And I've been the one that would do all the traveling and doing all the different things. But my friends have been like, no, I'll come to you.
Yeah.
And when you see that, that's like a give. It's like I'll give and take. Like they have respect for me to say that, hey, I understand you're always the one that's driving. Let me be the one to drive over, or let's do different things. And I think that is where you really start seeing the reciprocation. Andy Mineo had in his song, and I was listening to it because I've been really into Christian rap recently, and it's just been speaking to my soul. He was just talking about how he had a friend, and this person was he would call this person his best friend. Like this was his like entire best friend. But when he had a tragedy in his family, this person was nowhere to be found. And then showed up some months later and was like, when it was something like that would benefit him, I guess, he was like, oh, I'm here, I'm ready, let's be there. And he was like, oh, I have to rearrange things in my life. I still will be cordial, but I'm not going to be, I'm not going to, you're not going to be a priority to me, because I got to make sure that the real thing is the priority. And I think in this situation is where you start really thinking about who are and what is the priorities that you want, because you have a lot of things that you want to accomplish, and there are a lot of things that you want to do. Look at the people that are helping you get there. Or is it people that want to just use you for your capabilities and use you for the knowledge that you have, but they're not willing to pay for it, or they aren't willing to but if it was their thing, or if it was that thing, they'll expect you to be there and be free. And I saw this lady's shirt, and I said, she was like, stop. She's like, this experience is expensive, so stop calling me and asking me if I'm free. And I said, I love that, because the thing is, my time is worth a lot, because it's all that I have. When it's gone, it's gone. And so if my time is expensive, and my worth is expensive, and my prioritization is expensive, then I'm not free for you unless you are a priority to me. And so I think that is where it has to be, is where you have to say, I'm expensive and I'm worth more, and take it from there.
And I think also it's important to keep in mind, just like for anybody, don't let the desperation for companionship drive you to be with people who don't respect you the way you should be respected. Yeah. Because you don't want to be alone when you go to the event or when you go to the party. You'll take subpar people who don't want to be with you, who don't put their best foot forward when it comes to you, but you want to have somebody to talk to when you're at this place or where you go somewhere. And so you're like, I don't really have any really close friends that are confidants that have my back, so I'll take a counterfeit version of a friend. I'll take somebody that's a lesser version of that so that I have companionship. Don't mistake companionship for friendship, and don't take companionship from just anybody just to placate your time or placate yourself or make you feel like you got somebody, because you're going to just be alone if you don't. There is somebody out there for you who will actually be a good friend. And I think that is something that, for me, I was just thinking about my friend group. I have literally dropped down in my friend group. Like, you used to be a texter. You can always tell how many people have your number on New Year's. When you get those random New Year's texts. When your phone is kind of dry, you got 3 or 4 popping through. You're like,
mine was so dry this year.
I was like, is it New Year? Is it the New Year? Or is it the New Year? And that means that I don't have people who just text me because I'm in a group chat or because it's some mass communication. And you can feel some type of way like, oh my gosh, I don't have as many friends. Or you can take it from the perspective of the people that are my friends are actually my friends.
Yes.
Yes, my circle may look smaller, but I would rather have a small circle that is strong and solid than to have a huge circle that's filled with weak links and can let any kind of mess come in and get me. And I think that is why it's important to know who you're around, who you're with, but you also have to know who you are so that you can have the right people around you. And I think how we were having a conversation about getting to those uncomfortable conversations, get into the root of why you are the way that you are, or the way you think, or the way you interact with other people. Is it like, I don't think I deserve to be treated right. I say I deserve to be treated the way I am, but I'll accept anything. Why is that? And so I think when it comes down to really examining those things, you get to a place where you're like, I'm going to have to be in some difficult places or some uncomfortable places before I can get to where I want to be at, or what I want my life to look like. So maybe you're friendless for a couple months. Maybe you're friendless for longer than a couple of months. But it would be better for you to do that than be with some trash. I don't want to call people trash, but people that are doing trash things and treat you like trash. It's better for you to be alone than to be with that.
Yeah.
So we jumped off on go ahead, Troy. I think you were about to say something else.
Well, I actually know somebody who's actually going through that right now with the whole friendship thing. Is they're saying this person is my friend, and they don't really show signs of an actual friendship. But in those moments that they do, I live for those moments. So I continue to put up with all of the mess until we're hoping that I'll get those friendship moments. And although it may take a long time, they sometimes give it. Like,
yeah. And I think that, again, I saw this video. It was like a podcast like thing, and I don't remember what the whole context was, but one thing that stood out to me was that they were like, be the person you want to be with. Like, it's what their advice was. And so if you are the friend you want somebody else to be to you, and you're not getting that in reciprocation, then they're not a friend to you. Because you know what your friend requires. You're making sacrifices. You're making concessions. You're making the commute. You're picking them up. You're bringing them food. I've even had to examine my relationship with my family. I'm like, I don't do stuff for y'all that y'all would do for me. And I was like, that kind of trash. Like, I was like, you kind of have to be like, I would never go to Goodwill for you. Like, drop your own things at Goodwill and call me when you get back. I'd be like, can you take this to Goodwill for me? Because you'll do it. But I had to examine, I'm not who I want somebody else to be for me. So I'm in the wrong. I'm not doing what I want somebody else to do for me. So it's like, okay, yeah, it is going to take sacrifice on my part. Yeah, I'm going to have to get behind the wheel and drive somebody somewhere and drop them off. Yeah, I'm going to have to do the commute. But I have to put that effort in because I want to be what I want to get. And just because somebody will do for me what I maybe wasn't willing to do for them, then that's where my internal review needs to be. But if you want to have somebody who's good, living for the highs isn't worth it.
And I think it's also, again, I think it flows back to where I was saying conditioning. I think that if you go to the root of it and you look at other dynamics and other relationships that you have, you'll see where that is probably a recurring theme, where at some point in the relationships there was always a point of expectation, like of waiting and wanting and desiring for these people to really essentially love you. And so because you want that love, you're like, I'm willing to do anything and wait for it to be where I need it to be. And these little snippets of love, I can hold on to those, and that can fill my tank for right now until I can get to the next stage where you are wanting to be with me. And I've been there where I was that person that was the friend that always got left. Like, I would have a friend and they were my bestest friend. And then something new and shiny, or new person would jump up, or new relationship would jump up. And then it was, I'm no longer important. And then once that ended, then the pull out Old Faithful and come back. And we are tight in there. And it's like, and I'm like, I'm doing all the things.
Yeah.
But it's not reciprocal. There's nothing on the other end that's saying, I really do care and respect you. It's just, you're there for my amusement. And I saw myself falling back into that pattern with as I got older.
Yeah.
And then I got to a place where I was like, no more. I don't want to come to your events. I don't want to go to your stuff. I don't want to get you a present. I don't want to do, because like people will look at you and be like, oh, I always know if they come, they'll bring a good gift.
Right.
And
we aren't even friends.
We're not really good friends. I'm not coming to your stuff. If you don't call me in the regular week to
randomly shoot me a text to see if I'm okay.
You haven't seen me in forever, and you don't hear the text. We're not friends. And I can say the same thing for me. I have to be honest. I'm not really friends with you if I don't be checking up on you.
Right. And it doesn't mean you have to check up all the time.
No, it could be months.
Correct. Depending on the degree of your friendship.
Yes.
You can be like, we're 3-month friends.
Yes.
I'll shoot you a text every 3 months and you do the same.
But you know your relationship dynamic. Because I have people who I used to work with in college, and we'll get back together and it's like no time has passed and we don't text for a good 2-4 months.
Yes, but you are friends, but you're not close friends in the sense of that you're my everyday friend.
You're not going to pour your heart out to these people.
Yes.
You're going to go out, you're going to have fun, you're going to go out to dinner, maybe see a play, maybe see a movie, do whatever, do an activity, bowling, whatever. But you're not going to be up there crying at the Cracker Barrel telling them what was going on in your life.
Yeah.
You just aren't.
Yes. And so I think that's where it is really understanding who is really for you and who's not. But you have to, and like you told your friend, is you have to come to that realization is, am I going to continue to accept that? And what I did, I asked the Lord to bring me some friends. Mm-hmm. I said, Lord, I want you to bring me some friends. I want you to bring me godly friends. I want you to bring me friends that will sharpen me and that will move me into the next level. I'm in grad school.
Yeah.
And one of the things is my friend, she started something called the Goal Friends, and we haven't really been doing it, but we still meet and talk. And whenever we do, we talk about what we've been up to. But the Goal Friends, we went out to dinner one day, and I was sitting in the parking lot, and these ladies, we were just talking about different things. And I was like, hey, y'all, I'm thinking about going back to school. I said, but I'm really kind of nervous because I applied before and I didn't get in, and it was really hurtful and everything. And they were like, well, you have time. Go ahead and do it. You got this. You are smart enough to do all of this stuff. Yeah. Get out there and push into it, because this was made for you. This is where you're supposed to be. And that was something that built me up. These ladies spoke into me, and where I am now is in line with what they said. Now, were there other things? Yes, there was a desire of my heart, but because they were like, yes, go for it. You got a bad response before, but that doesn't mean all of them are going to be bad. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep trying it. And as that happened, I pushed into it, and the Lord also gave me clarity of when to do it. But that was a driving force, because it made me say, I'm good enough. Mm-hmm. Not because I didn't but in that moment, that vulnerability, that moment of vulnerability to be like, hey, y'all, this frightens me.
Yes.
But I had people that I trusted enough to be able to say, and that can seem like a very small thing, but that was deep and dear to my heart.
Right.
And so to say, I'm afraid of this thing and it's beating me, but I really want it. But do y'all think that I could do it? Do y'all think I could go back? And they're like, most definitely. What are you talking about? That was a push, and that was a catalyst for me. It may have taken another year or two for me to get into it actually, but that was a catalyst for me to even say, you know what? I'm ready to start looking into it. And then you researching programs and all that kind of stuff. But it's a research. But you have to find those friends. And sometimes you can't find them on your own. God has to bring you them. And sometimes they are coming the most unlikely packages. And they may be people that you would think, oh, they annoy me. Or they're not the same as me. We're not in the same place.
Right.
And it's like, but they're your best resource. And they're and they will be somebody that will ride for you, and they will pray for you, and they will keep you lifted, and they will incorporate you into their lives fully and completely. And you do the same, because it's that level of reciprocality there. I don't think that's a word, but that's there that moves you forward. And I just pray and I hope that that your friend finds that, because when you do, it's it's so, you start being like, dog, I was missing out. Like I had like really.
And don't let bad experiences turn you into a trash friend.
Yes.
Where you're like, I'm going to give, you have some friend hurt. And so you're like, I'm going to give what I used to get. And that's all I'm going to be willing to give people, because you are accountable for you. So be a good person and a good steward. It always. Don't just let yourself fall to the wayside and be a bad friend because you've been poorly treated in the past. And I think, just to your point, I just wanted to say, because Ashley, you really are a good friend. Like, you are the kind of person who will, you have so much grace for people, like in a way that I'd be like, cut her off. I'm like, you need to let her go.
You sound like no. Rachel to me.
Who, me?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Rachel be the quickest person to be like, Troy, cut these people off.
Oh, me to her is Rachel to you. Yeah. So I'm like, because I'll be like, you need to, and you be like, no, she just needs to be loved where she's at. She's working through some things, and she just needs to be loved where she's at. And so if anybody, how you have been mistreated in the past by friends, and a lot of people who are good friends like that oftentimes are mistreated by people because they are gracious. And so continue to be gracious and continue to be faithful in who you are and who God has designed you to be, because he is faithful to answer that prayer when he sends you the friends where you're like, this is what true friendship looks like. This is what true companionship feels like. This is what having somebody who iron sharpening iron. This is somebody who is supporting me, who is encouraging me, who is praying. When somebody prays for you, like, I don't think people really understand how much time and energy prayer takes. Like, to pray for somebody, and not just a flippant prayer. I'm talking about like, no, I am on my knees interceding for you. I am having prayers. I'm like, no, the Lord is woken me up. She's on my spirit. I'm praying for her. That's different than, oh Lord, help her stomach, whatever. And that's prayer too. But again, to have that degree of friendship, I do believe that the Lord, in the appropriate season and the appropriate timing, will give you what you need to have. And so, I know we've been on heavy topics. We've been kind of keeping it heavy. I don't know, Trey, you want to take it to a light topic, just kind of shift it up?
We don't even have to. I think that was actually...
We were supposed to do 3 at the beginning of the episode. I was like, we're going to have 3 topics. And I was like, I'm shaking it.
Well, it kind of merged into, like, honestly,
because it was like
2 or 3 different topics, because we started off talking about, like, it wasn't shame, but it was vulnerability, but also talked into shame. And then we also got into friendships as well, and just boundaries, a lot of other topics too. So we didn't just stick to one
thing. No, I mean, that was good. I don't know if y'all want to keep going. I cut y'all off. I am really tired, like, from, like, not physically tired. Like, I feel like emotionally, like, because we had so much conversation before we even popped on the camera. So I am like, oh my gosh.
I think that sometimes you have to talk it through and be able to express it. And when you have good friendships, even if they are your family members, and you can talk through things that are hard and put you in a place of vulnerability, and they can shine a light on some things that you may not have been aware of. I think that it can be emotionally tiring, but when you actually get some rest and come back, you're more rejuvenated and you have more energy, because that weight has been lifted that you might not even know was there.
I think you can close us out.
All right. Well, thank y'all for listening. And I hope that it blesses just even one, even if it was just me, because I know I got a lot out of it tonight. So we'll see you in the next one.
See you. Bye.
Candid Convo.